Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of Let's Talk Comics, the official Image Comics podcast. I'm your host, Jim Biscardi, and this is the show where we go one-on-one with your favorite creators in the business to find out how they got in, why they got in, what they're still doing in comics, and what they've got coming up. My guest today is also the frontman of a band called Drug Church. He has written, most recently for Image Comics, Gehenna, Naked Aggression. You may know him from Frontiersman. He's got a new book coming out with artist EPHK. It looks friggin' phenomenal. He is Patrick Kindlon. Patrick Kindlon is the kind of creator and writer who he keeps doing the work and learns from every kind of past mistake. His whole mantra kind of feels like just failing forward, right? I think in learning from those, and I really enjoyed getting to just ask him a little bit about like how creating music is or is not like creating comics, and in what he has learned kind of from working on both sides of or working in both industries, really. And we get into a lot of really interesting discussion on art and what it means, especially from a creator. Patrick hates kind of being a public facing figure, but how he deals with it and lives with it is really, really interesting. But like I said, the focus today is to talk about Tigress Island, which comes out in just a few short weeks, March 11th, depending on when you're listening to this, in 2026. If it's already out, go buy it. But he, like I said, he's doing work with artist EPHK. They're hearing what everything Patrick has done up to this point and how he finally feels like he's in his groove is the story that I hope you take away from this. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's talk comics. Patrick, welcome, man.
Thank you, Jim. To everybody watching at home, I have two apologies to make. Firstly, I'm operating on a laptop camera, and this is not that impressive a visual. This looks like a 280 or something. And also, I have commandeered the bar area of a venue, and it is possible that staff may be walking behind me at some point. Try not to be distracted, but thank you for having me today.
It's all good. I have seen some other interviews you've done, and you, like you said, you bring a podcast mic with you places, and you know I watched a few days ago. I caught your interview just in doing some research with Ink Pulp. I love those guys. Those guys are great. And you're doing it outside. It felt fresh, super comfortable.
Yeah, it was fresh. Yes.
I love that. I have to imagine, with you being in a form of entertainment, in being a musician or whatever, that stuff matters.
Well, I'll say that I'm never afforded true privacy ever in my life. That's not a thing. That's hasn't been on the cards for me in a very long time. And it's also catch as catch can. Right now I'm in this bar area. The Ink Pulp interview, I believe, was also in a bar area, but it doubled as a where was I, in France? It was a French outdoor beach volleyball court. These are places I find myself in life. There's a lot of cause, Jim, for self-reflection. Yeah, when you find yourself in these spots,
All right, let's get into some more comics talk, and I'm sure some music stuff will pop in as we go along. But I think like when people look at your career from the outside a little bit, there's very clearly two lanes, right? There's your music life and your comics life. But like if someone were to take a closer look, it all feels like it's all one brain in a sense, right? Like I think a lot of what you've been doing really kind of fits it together in a bit. But I'd love to know, this is the first question I ask everyone. Obviously you are a comic professional and a musician, but is there an alternate universe where Patrick runs a dog grooming salon or something? Like, was what you're doing now what you've always wanted to do?
Yeah. I always had an instinct to express myself, I suppose, but it wasn't until, maybe high school that I developed an interest in music. And I was just elected to be a singer. I'm not, anybody that's heard me will tell you I'm not very good at it. Comic books, this is not a line just because I'm on a comic book podcast, but comic books were the first thing I identified with, the first thing that felt like mine. Music, I'm not diminishing music. It's afforded me so much opportunity to get things out of my brain and express myself, but I'm not good at it. Right. So comics I'm good at, which everybody loves what they're good at. And music for me is much more like I'm like the slightly overweight kid trying to play pickup basketball where I'm not great. You know what I mean? No matter there's limitations to me that I just don't feel in comics. So, but is there another world where I'm running a dog grooming service? I mean, there's not a day in my life where I don't say, I'm just going to buy the pressure washing rig today. and I'm just going to start, I'm going to start
going
because working, the problem that a lot of people have with working in the arts is not the problem I have. I don't mind the uncertainty. I don't mind a lot of the BS. I know this sounds crazy because I talk a lot and I'm on a stage a lot. And I think that being a public facing individual in 2026 is some version of a nightmare. And even if it's just even if it's just a subtle nightmare, even if it's just like an uncomfortable dream, it's still, there's everybody that's pressure washing, continue pressure washing. Do not try to be an influencer. Don't try to be a movie star. Just pressure wash your family into a nice life because, comic books, it's a crazy business because in music, you have to be some type of personality. It's very rare that you get to be completely invisible to people. It's rare. It happens, I suppose. But and in comics, it's even worse. They want you to be a wizard or like some type of wild man or some shit. And it's if you're just a normal person that likes to make comic books, it's a rough go out here. It's if you're not trying to create an identity about I'll borrow from Alan Moore here. If you're not trying to commune with snake gods or anything, and you're like maybe you enjoy sports and you got a normal life, there's not a lot out here for you. So in terms of being a public facing person, it's public facing person is pain, is misery.
Do you not feel that same exposure though as when you're putting out new work, like in comics? In comics?
Oh no, I mean it's worse in comics. Comics is worse. Comics is I've never seen people trying to tear each other down like in comics. Comics is crazy. It's you can jump out and say, "Hey, I got a new book," and somebody will be like, "Yeah, but remember when you didn't buy the recyclable bags when you threw your garbage out?" And it's like, come on, man! I didn't know you were buying my work for the recyclable bags. You know what I mean? I thought I was making comics here. I don't know.
Well, okay. So talk to me about what I'd love to hear more is about like the experience though. People like what is it like for you when seeing people experience what you do on a music front, but also experience what you do on a comics front? And is there a difference, right? Like, is one more personal for you because of what the medium that it's in, or is it all kind of the same for you?
Jim, is it all right if I get deep here for a minute?
I would love for you to go deep.
It's all ephemeral. It's all it's all transitory. It's vanity. All is vanity. And I say this because I've watched in music things that people really connect with and love, but they don't give a goddamn about the person making it. You know what I mean? They don't care if that person lives or dies. And to be honest, I think that's a very in some ways, healthy relationship with the art. It's less parasocial, and there's something pure about it. But you have to really be doing it for the process of it, because if the outcome that you're hoping for is a perfect work, you're never going to reach that. And if the outcome you're hoping for is posterity, you're never going to reach that either. I always say this respectfully to the communists and the Christians in our listenership right now, but someday a meteor is going to hit the planet, and Mao and Jesus are both, there's going to be no record of them. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's going to be another ice age. There's going to be another, so there's no such thing as posterity, even for things that we see as, forever, like just parts of culture. Shakespeare is going to be obliterated and like this, right? So my point is, you can't do things for posterity, and you can't do things to create a perfect work, because both those things are unachievable. So what are you left with? You can get the cheap pop of people enjoying your stuff in the moment. You know what I mean? And that's worth something. But really, you just got to be obsessed with kind of the nuts and bolts of a thing, because if you're doing it for any other reason, you're just going to be disappointed. In comic books, it's, things last a little bit longer in the respect that they go on a shelf and people pick them up. And, I've found some real gold in quarter bins where I've just been so impressed that something, but that's discouraging too, because I remember, sorry, not to, but
keep going. I'll move us along once I feel like we're veering too far off.
I read an interview with Matt Wagner recently, where he said that the question was, "Hey, how come you never did any Marvel work?" And his response was, "They never contacted me." What?
Whoa.
What? Here's my point. Matt Wagner is not that Marvel's the top of the fucking mountain, but just that it's this idea that you can be a blind spot while being one of the most genius creators of. I mean, Matt Wagner is in any reasonable person's top 20, right? Like that. Whether you love his work or don't love his work, you have to admire him.
Right. There's a level of respect there.
So, let's say he's in the top 20. And he was an editorial blind spot to generations of Marvel editors. That's insane. And it also speaks to the fact that there is no reaching everybody the way that you would like. There's no...
Well, and there's also no accounting for taste.
Sure. Yeah. Well, yeah, of course. But there's just, you're never going to get that thing that like, I guess people who crave celebrity or crave, maybe they don't have a good relationship with their dad and they're trying to prove themselves to the world or whatever. You're never going to achieve that, because ultimately nobody gives a fuck if you live or die. They're just sort of, there's like a general indifference. There's so many human beings on the planet. It's cold and it's dark, but it's the truth. And so to answer your question, everything's a void. I find fulfillment in nothing. It's just misery on misery out here, Jim.
Well, okay. So you have said that you felt like you got into working in comics late. But I feel like anyone who looks at your current body of work, as far as comics goes, you've been doing this for a bit. Like, I feel like you're at a point where now that I feel like maybe you wanted to have been kind of at the age of when you started, or
so Jim, not a pain, but not a problem either. I don't know. It's just a quirk of my existence is that my maturation is really behind. I'm like a slow to the finish line sort of guy, like my band is successful now when I'm in my 40s. The hell is that worth? You know what I mean? It's crazy. Like, it's like an absurd idea that I should, the time that most people stop doing a thing because it becomes, untenable, the insolvency looms, is now the time that I get to do it. And I should be grateful, but instead I'm thinking, oh man, aren't there other milestones I'm supposed to be hitting right now? Instead, I'm still, and with comic books, it's a similar thing where, started late, but I guess everybody's starting late now. It's not, it's not the Liefeld era where, guys are working at 17 or whatever, but it's so there's just a later start date for a lot of people. But I felt very behind the eight ball, so to speak. And now I don't feel that way so much. I'm at least in the conversation with the young guys, but I'm not a young guy. You know what I mean? So it's, I don't know if I should be flattered or not flattered or, whatever, but it's, it's just a funny circumstance I find myself in. It's nice. I mean, listen, a lot of guys hit 40 and it's, nothing but pressure washing, you know what I mean? And sure. I don't have to, do that just yet. And that's cool, but it's, at the same time, I'm acutely aware of how late to everything in life I am,
Well, okay. So what were some of those early days like for you in the sense of you wanted to get into comics and it feels like, for a piece of advice that gets shared on this show all the time is, if there's someone out there who wants to make comics, you should just make comics, right? That's the only way to do it. For you, what were some of those like early just making comics days look like, right? Like where do you begin to go to try and figure out and like deconstruct how a comic book is made and work towards making one?
Well, a young guy asked me the other day, he said he wanted to get into comics. What would I recommend? And, it's like one of those cliches from the tech world, but just fail early, fail often. Like
Sure.
you just fail. And that's nobody wants to hear that. It's not very good advice. Is, hey, you need to waste a lot of money and time, and you think you're gonna have something, and then you're not, and it's gonna be miserable, and you're gonna get kicked into the dirt multiple times, and that's not anything anybody wants to hear. But at the same time, it's the only thing that I know. So I it's the same thing with music. There's all these fellas that are. I don't want to say cutting corners. They're making better time than I ever did, right? And but literally all I know is you write the music, you record the music, you tour on the music, and all the other stuff that people have kind of designed in the meantime of, oh well, you can if you're promoting yourself as like a personality on social media, or if you're if you're getting into other ventures and mixing it with your music, this is all stuff that. I'm sure it works. I've seen it work for some people, but I don't. I'm too stupid, is what I'm trying to say. I only know how to do one thing, and same thing with comics. I only know how to do the comics, and then did this one turn out good? Yeah, it turned out 10% better than the last one. Okay, we're gonna call that success. And it's but you got to really enjoy that process, because the short term is not good. For example, I run into a lot of young people who, for them, planting a flag in music is writing an LP. So, okay, an LP, let's say that's 26 minutes worth of music. Okay, cool. That's not that much, but it's the process of making an LP. It can take something out of you. And if you're trying to make it great and you put your full self into it, and nobody cares on earth, nobody listened to your record, you can't get any traction, nobody will check it out, people become very disheartened. Now, I see that as part of the maturation process, but if I was going to be honest with somebody that maybe I thought was a little bit more delicate, I would say, do 7 inches, do EPs until until it feels like there's any demand for you at all, because otherwise you're going to pour all your effort, a year's worth of your time, into something that you believe in your head is great, that will go so under-recognized that you'll wonder what you're doing. and comics is the same thing. Comics, most guys start in indies where they're invisible to the market, right? And you're clawing and you're scraping your way into any level of visibility, and you have to really love you have to love comics so much that you're desperate for another opportunity to make the next one. Because if you're one of these fellas that believes that you have hit gold right out the gate, you're wrong and you're a stupid person and you're going to suffer. And it's just to say that there has to be, you have to, I mean, have rocks in your head. You got to be a stupid person.
Right.
The advice I would make, the advice I would give people in music and comics for whatever limited success I've had, if somebody wanted to model it, I would say, have rocks in your head, be late to everything, because it's the only thing I know, you know what I mean? And if there was a better way to do it, I might've tried, but I just can't, I'm just not there.
I think have rocks in your head is going to be the title of this episode. So
there you
go. Mark that one down. Okay. Well, so talk to me about some of those early books, right? So you get in at Black Mask. I know you and Matt Rosenberg obviously had a connection because of the music stuff that you guys were doing, but it's still like I really would love to just kind of hear where, with a book like, We Can Never Go Home or things like that, like where does the seed of that kind of come from, and what were maybe some of the surprises, I guess, in actually kind of like beginning to put a script together and working with an artist and things like that? Like what were some of those surprises, and what was that process like for you?
So Matt and I actually have a lot of false starts, a lot of unpublished work, some of which still kind of holds up because we managed to convince some very talented people to collaborate with us on things. So we kind of sit on a weird catalog of stuff that, I don't know what format it would ever be published in or whatever, but it's in hard drives, you know what I mean? And it's, it's interesting, good work. But, for example, I remember one time we hired a Chinese artist, and there's language barriers, and we're writing about a character in a tank top, and we get we get the thumbnails back, and the character is being chased by a tank, and because the language barriers, and this is the type of thing that you don't realize, you're trying everything, and I still do try everything. I've been buying $60 art assets from like metal artists that do like, metal logos and things like that this past week, just to use as design elements in different things. I like to throw anything against a wall and see what sticks. And that's what we were doing at that time, but more because we didn't have a great grasp on, we hadn't failed enough. You know what I mean? And
right.
We Can Never Go Home. I actually would like to give Matt all the credit for that book. My name's on it, but I don't feel like I can take any credit. Like, for any work that I was doing at the time and any work that Matt was doing at the time, we would basically act as checks and balances for each other. Like, hey, is this a good idea? I don't think this dialogue is dialed in yet. Do you think this is going to work? No, you should do this, whatever. So I don't want to take too much ownership unless it goes to Hollywood, in which case I'll take the check. But I don't want to take too much ownership over what, that's a very personal work for Matt. So that's why I don't want to take too much on that. But as far as the experience, it's a process of like, how do you talk to artists? How do you interface with editors? I remember one time, I won't use his name, but one of the talent guys, I forget what names you call them, talent scout, I guess, but they had your titles at the time, from one of the big two, just went to Matt and said, "I hate your partner, man." You know what I mean? He said, I just hate this kid. And that's how you interact with people, how you, who you are as a person. And this is a problem for me, is I don't see myself as a difficult person or a particularly controversial person, but I'm verbal. I talk a lot, and with that, sometimes you step in shit when you talk a lot, and it's just who I am. It's not, if I tried doing the quiet, stoic, steely faced guy at this point, nobody would buy it. My wife would think something fell on my head or something, like something went wrong, but I'm just a verbal guy, and you get
Right.
yourself in trouble. And managing personalities. So on a book, let's say that you're working in self-publishing or at Image, you typically, not always, but typically, writers take on some of the admin responsibilities of managing a book, essentially acting as an editor to some degree, interfacing with the different talents on a book, partners on a book, and learning how to be a professional person that is trying to create an artistic work. Mm-hmm. is a process. It's a life process. It takes, look, at least once a week, I embarrass myself. I send out an email and I get the reply and I go, oh shit, you know what I mean? But that's part of it too, right? It's, look, sorry, I know that this is probably obvious, to listeners of this podcast, every episode it comes out, but you got to really love comic books to do comic books. And I happen to be one of those guys that loves them enough that any indignity, any little embarrassment, any like, oh, I messed that up. I just keep rolling. You know what I mean? It's just, it is what it is. And you got to have a bit of a thick skin. Retailers are going to tell you suck. Retailers are just you're going to write retailers this nice thing. I feel so passionate about this project. I love it. And some guy in Duluth is going to write you back and 2 words, but one of them is going to be a letter. It's just going to say, you suck. And you got to just take it on the chin. You got to conduct yourself like a professional, It's not, I don't want to say it's a hard business because the barrier to entry is low, which is such a beautiful thing, right? Mm-hmm. That is such a gorgeous thing about our industry is if you have a ambition, gumption, a tiny bit of talent, you can start. And that's what I liked about music too. And really, if I was to ever give a talk at a high school or something, I would say this is the only thing that matters is you don't need to be good at anything to start something, right? Inshallah, you become good at something by hard work and your time in it, but you don't have to be good at it to start. And that applies to sports. That applies to anything. You don't have to have a natural aptitude. You just have to have a willingness and a willingness to fail. Mm-hmm. On this tour that I'm on right now, I'm playing bigger rooms than I'm used to. This room I'm in tonight is probably the biggest non-festival room I've ever played. And if I go out there and I poop my pants, I will feel nothing. And I won't care. I won't feel sadness. I won't, because it's just, look, you do something a lot with the hope that your average is great. Not that you can always do the perfect thing, just that you're in the balance of things, you're doing more good work than bad work. And if you could just try that. And also, of course, the biggest lesson for all of life is, hey, is this thing I created better than the worst version of it I've ever seen or heard in my life? Okay, small victory. You know what I mean? Small victory.
Look, I'll take that. Those are good baby steps.
Yeah, that's it.
I want to move to some of the early Image stuff. But before that, I do want to talk about you've worked with a ton of great artists, and at one point, like, you got to work with Maria Lovett, who was also like at a point where she was kind of early in her career, in doing stuff, and now has continued to do phenomenal stuff. And I think you mentioned it when you were talking to the Ink Pulp guys, just about how, you know, finding a collaborative partner in an artist is something that is incredibly important to you. Where does that come from? And for you, what do you think really makes a good collaborator on that front?
Well, I mean, there's different types. Frankly, some are much more active intellectual collaborations where your artist partner is thinking about every aspect of the work and challenging you on it. And then there is other artists who take on every aspect of the work, but self-challenge with it, right? And say like, I'm not going to bring up a single problem in this kid's script. I'm going to make it brilliant. And both are really valuable. But I mean, I can't knock either one. I've been incredibly blessed. I got an email today from an artist, total genius, who's like, "This is stupid and I don't understand it." Perfect. Let's go. Let's go. So, I will say that, whether I have a good eye or whatever, I've collaborated, with some really talented people early in their careers and watched them go to great places. Marco would be another example, right? Marco is now doing Gotham Academy to really enthusiastic response. And, I don't think Marco would mind me saying this, but when we first collaborated on a book at Aftershock, he was ready to step away from comics for a time because he was just very discouraged, and since that time, and he gives me too much credit. I don't deserve that much credit, but Lorenzo, who Leaded Gasoline, the book that we just brought to Kickstarter, has been done for some time. He presented those pages and has been working on Terminator with Declan. And and I'm not taking credit, by the way, for any of these people's careers. But what I'm saying is, I personally have been a real beneficiary of this because artists, right or wrong, see, Patrick's scripts will provide me enough good work that even should our thing together not take off and not be something I can live off of, it will be a meaningful calling card, and I will certainly get other work off of it. And as a result, what's an embarrassment of riches. I have so many brilliant people that give me the time of day and are willing to work with me. And that makes my job much easier. Like some fellas are swimming against strong currents because they can't find the right collaborators. I am at this juncture in my career. I'm just very blessed to have nothing but good collaborators, really, really sharp artists that have like their own vision of things, like real sense of what they want to accomplish with a project, and aligning ourselves to that makes, in my view, very good work. I'm proud of my work. So, I'm really happy whenever somebody I work with goes on to be much bigger than me. You know what I mean? I really am.
Like a proud papa.
I hate saying I'm proud of people because it makes me feel like I'm taking too much ownership of the thing they've accomplished.
Sure.
But yes, proud is a word. I'm just, what we do out here is hard, and a lot of people quit out of frustration and kind of an immiseration, and whenever I see somebody really, like, whatever involvement we have together, and whenever I see them shoot up to more work and greater acclaim and more visibility, I'm just, I don't know. I have a lot of bad qualities, but being jealousy is not one of them. I'm really, I get emotional happy for people. You know what I mean? I really do. I love watching people achieve things.
Right. Well, so you mentioned Marco, and obviously he was your partner on Frontiersman, which was your first big book at Image. What was there anything different that do you feel about getting that book up and off the ground than say anything else you maybe had done up to that point, or was it kind of business as usual for you, and you're doing your thing, and maybe the stage is a little bigger?
I'm not saying this to sound cool at all. I don't think it's cool. I'm not saying it to sound like some type of above it sort of guy.
Sure.
But I had this exact moment. I met with Eric from Image. I was in a bad mood, but we got on well. And I said, okay, so are you cool with superheroes? He says, very cool with superheroes. I said, okay. He said, and Eric is, by the way, if you want to listeners, if you want to get to Eric's heart, talk about Fantastic Four classic issues. But he says, very cool. And I said, and I want to work with the same guys I've worked with on other projects because I respect them and we got a good rapport. And he says, I love teams. Let's go. And I was like, oh, this is great. And at this time I had been, skulking around conventions, trying to get an audience with Eric or anybody at Image that would take the time to, and it felt like this is where I wanted to publish for a long time. I don't just say this because I'm on the Image podcast right now, but for me personally, I put a lot of stock in sort of the self-directed nature of the company, and for me it was like a major moment, and I felt fucking nothing. And I was like, I guess I'll go get some Indian food. And that's when I realized I'm so late to everything that by the time I arrive, I've already mentally been there. You know what I mean? Like I'm already like, okay, well, I've played this out in my head, and now now we're there. Okay, what's next? I gotta make the book. You know what I mean? and it's but it's a funny thing about being late to everything. You're never surprised. You know what I mean? you always go like, oh, well, all right. Now I guess it's Indian food and I got to write the damn comic. But it's I won't say that anything was terribly different, but Marco and I were aware that we were on a bigger stage and that we wanted to make a good impression. Obviously, we both want to do career work up till that point and try to, and I can confess, I was really put out, not by my, I don't want to say treatment, because I didn't, that's giving it too much credit. I had a bad experience, so to speak, with one of the big two. And I just, bad taste in my mouth, I guess would be the way to put it. Now, let's not overstate it. And I just wanted to do a superhero book better than anything they had on the shelves. And that was my my reason. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that's always the best reason to do something, but it does motivate me often if I see somebody doing something that I think is naturally a good endeavor and they're doing it poorly. I typically will say, well, God damn it. If I guess I got to do it. All right. I'll do
some of the best motivation.
You know what? I don't know if people feel that way. That's you and I, but
no.
Maybe
that is how I have lived my entire life. I just want to be doing what I do better than everyone else.
Yeah, I mean that's it for me, I guess. I saw some of the books and I said, yo. I said I think I could do it better than that. And like to my mind, we did. But then I learned an important lesson that, so with There's Nothing There, the book that I did with Maria, I learned an important lesson, which is you can't badmouth the big two to retailers, because retailers they'll offer all of their criticisms to the big two, but that's how they make their money. They make a lot of money off those books, and they don't want to hear from another creator that you have any sort of adversarial relationship. They want to keep don't question the thing that sells a lot of books, right?
Sure.
And with There's Nothing There, there was a little piece of back matter that I had in that didn't go over well, and some retailers were still hanging on to it even up to a couple of years ago. And Frontiersman, same sort of thing. Some critics picked up that it was kind of a shot, and they didn't care for that. And also, it was a really interesting political moment where everybody was politicized. So we got shot from both sides, so to speak, where we got letters that would say things like, you libtard piece of shit, like, but the book we started writing the book during the Obama presidency. And when we're talking about, like rolling back environmental regulations and things like that, people were so politicized in that moment that they thought that I was like taking a shot at Trump. It's like, well, actually, I was taking a shot at a fictional president because,
right.
But it went both ways, is what I'm trying to say. We also got killed. A couple reviews. I remember one review very distinctly that was all positive and then took away points because, and this is a quote, I couldn't determine the politics of this book.
Oh, geez.
So because this person because there was no character that looked directly at the reader and said, so just so you're aware, the politics of this book are as follows. This person deducted points.
Right.
Major publication, by the way. It was not one of the small, and it was that was a fascinating moment because when you find that you can step in shit no matter which way you walk, it's kind of liberating, because at that point you don't care anymore. You go, listen, I'm going to get murdered either way, so to hell with it. I think an important thing is to get shit on. And I said earlier that being like a public facing person is its own tiny bit of a nightmare. There is also something liberating about the fact that you're never going to, once you acknowledge, I'm never going to be free from criticism. There's always going to be some really like strange person, salty person, bitter person that's going to try to harm me. There's always going to be somebody that has something negative to say. Once you take that on board, and you just, it washes over you and washes off of you, you have a lot more freedom, because before that you're nervous. Oh no, can I get this guy to do a cover for me? I heard he got in trouble. You know what I mean? You're hung up on all this bullshit. And then you get to the other side of it and you go, what am I talking about? There's just people that are throwing metaphysical lawn darts with no, it's just all day, every day. Am I going to hit somebody? I don't give a shit. Here we go. And it's that person. Once you realize that person it's not even personal. They don't even like have a handle on who you are. They're just taking shots at work. That's kind of freeing. Still not nice, but it's freeing. So I thought that was an interesting learning experience too. Everything's a learning experience with this.
Well, I think it's so interesting. Just in just getting to know you in this conversation and right, and like you talking about how like now it feels like being a public figure is absolutely awful. I mean, that is kind of what, like, were you feeling that back then while writing Frontiersman? Because I mean, that's essentially what you had put, your main character in, right? Like in becoming a spokesperson, like all of a sudden he's got new and different targets on his back.
Yes. And I want your listeners to know that I am not even a grade Z celebrity. I'm not when does an alphabet start over? Like AA, right? So like below that. So I'm like, maybe GG, right? Like I'm lower than, but I have some public visibility, just because I'm in small scenes that where there's not, you just become one of the people that people see. But even when I had less visibility than I do today, I still hated this notion that there was there's nothing there. The Book of Maria, that's about that too. It's about being watched in a way that is dehumanizing and completely nobody would take it on themselves, but everybody is happy to do it to someone else. Yeah, you know what I mean? That's the type of. I mean, there are people that take it on. There's people that actually thirst for celebrity, but there's something very damaged about those people, and we can just kind of disregard them as, it's a type of person. It's a sick person. But most people would like to be good enough at the thing that they do that they're acknowledged and can make a little bit of money for their family. And when our effort is to denigrate that person into, how can we make this guy suicide out on, it's just a bizarre, like Tom King, as respectfully to a guy who is an Image alumni, I don't care for his work, but I always defend him because whenever I see somebody going like Tom King is the Antichrist, I go, are we sure? Is there any evidence provided that he is, the beast of Babylon? Is that can I see some citation? And I just hate this. They do it in comics so viciously. I really, it disgusts.
Well, I mean, look, I think it's a thing that I think it happens everywhere, right? I think all you have to do is go look at like Google reviews of your local small business or go to Yelp, right? And see what people are saying about restaurants and things like that. Like
it's all true.
It's a very weird, innate thing. There is sharing criticism, but then there is, just sharing idiocy in a sense, right? Where, if someone may have had a bad day while experiencing something somewhere, and for them to then go and try to tear something down just because they feel their voice is that, I don't want to say important enough, but but in that way, you see that a lot. It just sucks.
There's this guy that keeps getting kicked off of YouTube because I think it's one of those tricky things where I guess you could call him a racist. But he's racist towards his own race, so it's like extra confusing. But he keeps getting kicked off of YouTube, and he lives in a big house, but not because of YouTube. He's just a successful contractor, and every time I've ever seen him, I go, this is a crazy world where this guy could be successful, having views that I don't know a single person on earth that would co-sign these views. And this guy is successful because he works in a field where the only thing that matters is his labor. And because he is whatever successful contracting work he does, his face isn't on the side of the fucking vans. But because nobody goes to him for his politics, they go to him for his woodworking or whatever the hell he does, and I find that fascinating. I really do, because in the world that we occupy, it's completely different. It's, I need you to write the thing that I want you to write. I also need to understand that you're coming from the same exact place I am. I don't want to have to second guess your motivations or think about you as an individual or how your views might differ from mine, or if there's I just want what I want from you. And if you don't give it to me, then you're the beast of Babylon. You and Tom King, you're going to rot in hell together. And I just, that stuff is becoming, I've always kicked back at that you have to connect with an artist on that level. I think it's actually really unhealthy to even desire it. It's like you shouldn't always want a blanket. You know what I mean? Like you should occasionally want to experience the little bit of cool air on your skin. Not everything has to be comfort all the time. And right. As things go on, I'm getting more confused by it, I guess, because if I never went to Tom King, if I never read a Tom King book for his whatever, I'm not trying not to make it about Tom King, whatever. If I never read let's say, hold on, allergy. Okay. If I never read a Tom Allergy book, because his politics, why would I stop reading it if his politics started becoming if I stopped agreeing with them? It wasn't why I came in the first place. Right. So I'm becoming, I thought maybe I'd become more sympathetic to people's views on this as time went on, but I'm becoming I find them, I have an impatience for them. I don't understand. I don't understand.
And I think that's one of the great things about, what we do is that, like, look, you can still put out work regardless, right? Like, regardless of how people react to it or feel about it. It, fortunately right now, it doesn't stop the work from coming out, and still.
No, I ordered a Mike Barron book the other day that was absolutely mentally ill, and it's still, I own it now. You know what I mean? He won because I purchased it, and it is absolutely crazy. But you know what I mean? But I would love a market where Mike Barron, being like a cocaine conservative, by the way, that's not besmirching him. I think he would actually identify with that, with that particular distinction. Where his work is accessible alongside, whoever it might be. And that was an unpopular view for a number of years. Maybe still is unpopular because people are still highly politicized. But when it comes to what I do, and I'm going to be very pretentious now, if you don't mind, Jim, I'm expressing myself. Full stop. That's it. It's I'm blessed that the means by which I express myself are marketable enough that I can eke out a living. Mm-hmm. Certainly not everybody, guys in art comics, pure art comics, they don't have that advantage, right? Like that can only be expression with kind of no market end of things. But I'm blessed enough that the things that are in my mind that I would like to get out are marketable enough. I feel blessed, but that's all it is. I'm not, and to judge me on any other criteria is foolishness, and it's anti-art, and I just don't have any patience for it. And that's sorry to get deep on you, Jim, but
no, you're good. Well, I want to be cognizant of your time, and so I want to make sure. I don't know how much you've got left, but I know I'm trying to keep this to an hour for you. So let's. We'll have to, at some point, we'll have you on again. We'll talk through, because I would love to talk through more of Frontiersman and Antioch and Gehenna, which are all super great, in their own way, fun books. But we do need to talk about Tigress Island, because that's what we're here for today. Why don't you give me kind of what is the pitch for it, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. So it's actresses, failed or stalled actresses and television personalities who take an opportunity in what looks like it might be escorting overseas, but find themselves in over their heads and needing to escape an island. This, by the way, I should mention, no relation to the other island in the news. No relation. It's either the fact that our book comes out when this shit is at its peak in the news is either a happy coincidence or a bad one, and I do not mention it further. Yeah, we'll find out. So it is, if I had to continue a pitch, I would say it is masterfully drawn by EPHK, who is doing he's painting pages. There's mixed media. He's rising to the occasion in the most just undeniable fashion. It's beautiful pages, each and every one of them. And for anybody that enjoyed Gehenna, the compliment I got most often outside of Maurizio's brilliant artwork was that it moved. Mm-hmm. And people, there's a certain reader who miss that, who feel like they're not getting enough kind of, the end of this book is the destination and we're racing there. Let's go. Tigress Island has a lot of that in the DNA. You understand there's going to be, there's twists, of course, because we got to maintain your attention, but it is as simple as it seems on the surface, which is I'm trapped someplace that I'm in danger. I'm going to get out of this. And then you have the interpersonal relationships between the women and where that goes. But have you seen the motion picture Apocalypto?
Yeah.
Okay, so it may be my favorite movie. And
okay,
the thing I love about it is that there's a story, and not a B story, maybe an AB story, right? Because it is about one thing and one thing only. About I've been kidnapped to a place I don't want to be, and I'd like to get home. And that's it. And that to me is that's real storytelling to me. I understand that there's people that like layers of complexity, and that they would like to be confused at times. I'm not offering confusion. I am offering in my view, and I put this on EPHK, not myself, a really beautifully told, simple story about escape.
What it's interesting in that in this book you are building a cast where it feels like everyone has a reason to betray everyone, but like I said, I've read the first issue, but like you also still kind of want to root for each of them.
Sure.
And so like, how do you talk to me about like kind of building some of those dynamics? And because I feel like that's one of the things that really helps move some things along, not only in setting up where everything is, but almost immediately getting to who some of these characters are. And it almost feels like, you kind of pick sides in a sense too.
Well, so there was I'm not going to badmouth anybody that has given me money in life. So, I won't, I'll just say that I've had work experiences where, writing for games and things like that, where there's, I don't want to say formula, but there's guardrails, and it's always about, a typical story structure necessitates that, betrayal happen, basically like a screenwriter's view, right? So whenever my work gets kicked around Hollywood, I always hear the same bullshit, and it's always love it, but how do you make it a movie? Because it's you don't hit. How would we possibly hit the mark on the 15-minute that where's the reveal, the rising action, the whatever this nonsense, and inciting incident, right, and all this bullshit. I don't think people care about any of those things at all. I think people like characters, and then you put characters in motion and you bounce them off each other, and then the result is story. And if you have good characters and you're a decent writer, the story is going to manifest. And that's basically what this book became. Is EPHK and I sat down, had some characters, and then those characters, okay, figure it out, girls. You know what I mean? And that's how we've arrived where we're at now. And it's I think that even if you ended up hating a character, as long as they didn't bore you or you forgot they were there, it's successful, right? Because
as long as they make you feel something.
Yeah, precisely. So there's some formula aspect in that you want to give each character enough to do. Like you could see this as a, if you were, Burn on Alpha Flight or something, you know what I mean? Like you want to give each character enough to do. Claremont on X-Men. But beyond that, they can each have a turn being the heel. You know what I mean? They can each, you don't have to love them each moment. This is a thing that I think, Jim, I'm not accusing you of this, but this is a thing that I think, is so lost right now. I loved my father. my father, I don't want to call him a shithead, but he had his failings. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And nevertheless, I loved him very, very much. And that's how we all recognize real life to be. We have friends who are imperfect. They don't always do the right thing. They are our friends, and we love them. Our mother, a lot of people got fucked up mothers, and it's like, yo, you still love your mother. This is a thing that I think that we don't extend that grace. We have a literalism problem in readers right now, and we don't extend characters the grace that we extend in real life characters. Yeah, you know what I mean? And I really dislike that. So we're shooting for a reader that understands that they're not always going to be satisfied with somebody's behavior. They'll occasionally be disappointed with somebody's behavior.
Mm-hmm. The book's also got a real pulpy feel to it. How do you walk the tightrope that is, keeping the essence of that, but not making it parody? Because I feel like that's
a good question.
It could very easily go that way.
Yeah. So I actually love the type of movie that we are emulating in this comic. I really like, there's a type of exploitation film that I think is really fun, and I will watch anytime it comes on late night television. But I do not like it when they become self-aware. When the book or when the movie becomes self-aware and everybody on it knows that it's not to be taken seriously, that's when an exploitation film falls apart and is crap. You need at least one person who might be completely delusional but believes that they are doing something worthwhile, whether it be an actress, a director, whoever. You need an anchor point that believes, all right, I'm doing pretty good work on this. This is and if that person takes it seriously, then it is imbued with a gravitas and a type of and it does not become parody. And in EPHK and I, you have two men who are approaching this as though it is actually great work, and there is no type of tongue in this. There's no tongue in cheek at all, but we're dealing in a genre. We're dealing in a genre that lends itself to a certain, a lightness, a levity, but not parody. I'm glad you picked that up because it is a fine line, but not that fine in what I do. I really try hard to never. My tongue is never in my cheek. Truly. Like I like work that takes itself seriously, just as a matter of course.
So are you, when in working with EPHK, are you a full script kind of writer, or is it, or is there room for what some people call the jazz of making comics?
Sure. So I'm a full script guy, but it would be incredibly foolish of me to collaborate with somebody as talented as EPHK and not hope for the jazz. Right. It's firstly, the way that we're doing this book so far different than anyone that I've done up to this point, in the respect that I'm writing full scripts that are 2 pages short.
Oh, okay.
And those 2 pages short are because EPHK, here's the beats that I think this book needs. How we get there is almost immaterial to me, as long as those beats are hit. And we can debate the beats, but so far we haven't. We agree on them, but we could debate the beats. But as long as the beats arrive, if that's 2 more pages of that over the course of a 22-page book that arrives at 24 pages after EPHK adds what he thinks a book needs, move things around, puts an emphasis on something else that he thinks is more visual or exciting. It's I mean, how blessed am I? Yeah, you know what I mean. It's really nice. But they're full scripts. But every full script I've ever written, I won't say who, but right now I'm writing full scripts for a guy who I don't recognize the pages do not look anything like the pages that I wrote, but they're good. So what am I going to have an ego about, oh, sorry, this came out good, I hate it. You know what I mean? Like it's, to me, I don't diminish the role of a writer. I think writers, if you're going to make truly great work, I think writers, obviously there's artists who are great writers, but for the most part, most of us don't have those skills, or access to those skills in a meaningful way. So I don't diminish writers, but I do think that writers need to, I mean, if any writer that's hanging on to sort of a pedantic love of their own scripts is not doing this correctly. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's you have to accept that it is a proper collaboration, which means that it's not simply your vision on a page. It's you collaborating with an artist, not just because they can deliver art. That's actually probably the worst reason. The best reason would be because that is a person who has a vision that you are incapable of manifesting in any real way. So I'm happy, honestly.
Right.
Like I say, beats, as long as the beats are there, you can write around almost any change. You're right. Like it's and some of the, certainly in music, but in comics as well, sometimes the thing that you didn't know you needed is the best thing for you. And that's how it has been for me in most things I do. I don't, let me say this, Jim. I don't try to be great. I just try to make great work. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Look, that's what we all hope to do. All right. Well, so then, before I let you go, I guess, what are you hoping, for this one in particular, that when all is said and done, that you want fans to take away from Tigress Island?
I mean, I would really love if perfect world, I would love to revisit this exact energy, with EPHK in the future, carve out a lane where this type of book, this specific genre thing that we're doing, which has precedent in comic books, but is often marginalized. And part of that is respectfully, I'm not going to name names, so I guess it doesn't matter, but respectfully, a lot of times, the art talent is nowhere near EPHK. So it's hard for exploitation books to sometimes kind of breach the market as a genre. They always have readership for sure, but they can't go as wide as maybe they should. And some people love that about them, right? Some people love that it's a niche thing, a counterculture thing to some degree. But I really, both with Gehenna and with Tigress Island, I would like to do, I guess, I don't like the term, but like an elevated version of the type of tawdry exploitation things that I really love. And maybe look, if we were going to compare that to Frank Miller certainly has hit notes where he's doing an elevated version of tawdry. In film, De Palma would be the classic elevated version of everything that man ever touched is tawdry as shit. But it's so masterful that he exists outside of sort of, the VHS ghetto that that used
camp,
to exist.
Right? The real campy ones. Yeah.
So in a perfect world, I would like to hit that mark and provide more of this to the world, because
do you feel with like your last two, with this and then obviously Gehenna, that like you're hitting a new kind of level for you in like what you want to do in with comics? Or was this always like, was this the ramp just keep,
well, so it's funny, actually. This is me being very behind the curtain and speaking frankly. It's an interesting moment for me because the next few things I have coming are proper, fun, light exploitation, unashamed of itself, sort of. But then I also have a couple books that are a little bit less sure thing in that respect, a little less for that same audience, and balancing those two things. This is you want to talk about the hedonic treadmill, right? About how things just kind of, for so long I struggled to have any type of success in comics, and then whatever small measure of it I have now, you then want to maintain, but you also don't want to become stale. So you have to do the things that speak to you while also saying, okay, well, if I don't capitalize on this moment, I'd be a damn fool. So what is this? How do I balance a slate of books? Because Image has been lovely to me. Gehenna was enough of a success that I've got a little bit of runway to do different books, and some of them are going to go, and I know they're going to go, and others, it's a dice roll. and that's not a knock against any of my collaborators, my co-creators. It's nothing like that. It is simply a matter that the market is an unforgiving thing that is also an unpredictable thing. And, but there are a couple things that I think will probably find the same readership as Gehenna. Right. And there's other things that I know will not. And trying to balance those things, I guess, schedule those things, right? So how do you do it? Do you do two things that you know are right in the pocket and then okay, but here's the third one that retailers, hey, I need you to see the vision on this one. You know, how do you do it? You know, it's not easy. But
yeah. Well, awesome. Well, dude, this has been a ton of fun. For those listening, Tigress Island #1 comes out March 11th. If you're listening to this in the pre-order window, go tell your retailer that you want at least 3 copies. If you are not, and the book is already on shelves, then go find it, go read it, go pick up go catch up however you need to. Patrick, man, this was awesome. Thank you. I hope you have a good show tonight, and
Thank you, Jim.
we'll catch up again soon.
Cool. Thank you, Jim.